Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So, hi everyone. My name is Emily Lee, and I am the Marketing Promotions Manager here at the Santa Barbara Independent. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Downtown Business Spotlight. For those of you who don't know, Downtown Business Spotlight is an interview series hosted by the Santa Barbara Independent and Downtown Santa Barbara, where we interview and highlight different Santa Barbara business owners throughout downtown. So, it's been a very exciting year of the show. I think we're on episode 51. So if you've missed any of the other previous 50 episodes, feel free to check them out at either independent.com/spotlight or downtownsb.org. You can find them all there. And this will also be up on those sites after this conversation. So if you enjoy this and you want to share it with friends, you can definitely do it that way. If you have any questions for any of our guests today, please go ahead and put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be sure to work them into the conversation. And with that, I will turn it over to Robin Elander, who is our host today. And I've just really enjoyed hosting this with her each week. So with that, I will turn it over to Robin.
Thank you so much, Emily. This has been a joy to host with you each week. My name is Robin Elander. I'm the Executive Director for Downtown Santa Barbara, an organization that supports and promotes about 1,400 businesses in our downtown Santa Barbara Central Business District. Today, we have two great folks with us. We're so excited to introduce you to Josh Parkhurst, who is with Golden Eagle Body Piercing. And we also have Sofia from Energy Body Piercing as well. So two great businesses, interesting conversation that I'm excited to get started with you all. Why don't we start first with you, Sofia. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into your line of work, and kind of where you're from.
Hi, Robin. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. My origin story with energy tattoo and body piercing is that I'm from Mexico, so it has a very spiritual and ancestral link to my heritage, being that even in the pre-Hispanic cultures, tattoos and body piercings were always a part of my ancestral heritage. So to be able to join in to the shop when the founders wanted to retire was such a beautiful happening, because my background itself is from meditation and this kind of alternative therapies, and as well as art and jewelry. So to be able to join this shop was just such a beautiful happening. And I studied a lot of meditation throughout the world, in which I was always linked to many tattoo shops and body piercing shops during my travels. Then being able to research my ancestral history and linking it to my heritage and making it sort of like more than just an accessory, but also a spiritual happening to transform one's body into what they want it to be instead of what they got when they were born, is such a beautiful honor. And yeah, what we're all about at Energy is to be able to create a safe space for everyone from all origins, to be able to have them feel that comfort, to be able to modify themselves in the best way possible, in the most healing way possible as well.
Well, that's so beautiful. I'm so happy for you that that opportunity came about, while you were working on all of these other things in alignment, and then this opportunity that they were retiring came up, and that you were able to be part of such a growing organization already. And so that's really, really special. And I want to talk more about kind of your background in just a moment. But first, I want to have Josh introduce himself. Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into your work, and where you're from, a little bit about your background.
Sure. So also very stoked to be here. It's kind of fun and just see how this goes. I was born and raised in New York. I moved to Santa Barbara almost 20 years ago. It'll actually be 20 years coming up November.
Wow, all right.
And within 3 months of moving to Santa Barbara, I started working for the tattoo shop that is located downstairs below my business. They were a different name, different owners at the time. And so that was my start. So I moved out here on a whim. Well, not so much on a whim. I'm a musician, so I moved out here to pursue music and to be able to kind of live life on my own terms. That story, as many people discuss. And then, like I said, one thing after another. So like I said, I've been in the industry, body art industry, for 19 plus years now. And I kind of came all the way up through. So I started just as your shop help, counter staff, doing the dirty work, doing the cleaning stuff, working long hours to make sure that the place runs and people can make money and do great art. And then after quite a few years, did my apprenticeship to become a piercer. And now fast forward to, like I said, the owner and proprietor of this studio. So out of the, like I said, almost 20 years in the industry, I've been piercing for a little over 14 of those. In terms of the kind of the timeline to get me to here where I am now.
That is really interesting. Tell us a little bit more about what kind of training, and you said you went through an apprenticeship and you're part of the industry. Talk a little bit more about what you needed to learn. And nowadays people are piercing all kinds of different things. Of course, you don't want to pierce too far in, things will cause a problem. So tell us a little bit about how you've learned that and, what people should know.
Sure. And yeah, so in terms of apprenticeship in this trade, as it said, it's a trade. So very similar to other trades. You have a reason that you're drawn to it for yourself first. Mm-hmm. Me, for example, as I said, a musician. So my first exposure to tattoos and piercings is slightly different to Sofia's origins and first connections and more personal connection. I was seeing tattoos and piercings on musicians in magazines as a teenager. You hit puberty, you're going through things, you're listening to music, thinking for things for yourself, looking at magazines. I saw this stuff and I'm like, this is awesome. I was always an artistic and creative, expressive child, continue to be as an adult. So that's my link, is the next evolution of expressionism, of being able to show what's on the inside, but on the outside. And part of it was like, that just looks cool. So I got tattooed and got pierced once I at my teenager, early 20s, because I wanted to do it for myself. Then by accident, really kind of ended up working in the industry. And like I said, as the initial entry level position kind of thing, like you would in many places. Then kind of after I said, being in it many years, it was, okay, you've been around this enough to really see what this is like as a job as well as a life, because it is a life, not more than a lifestyle. It is a whole different world. So to see if do you like it? This is the grind. This is what this is all about. And then to kind of the type of people you're around, the type of work you're doing, and then it was okay, you fit. You stuck through it for many years. You seem to be a good fit. You get it. I then was approached by a piercer that was here at the time and said, hey, you kind of have all of the prerequisites already checked off the box. You're into it for your own reasons. You've been in the industry, so you've seen the ins and outs quite a bit. And you've heard it, years and years in a studio, been around thousands of piercings. So I'd heard jewelry discussed thousands of times, aftercare discussed thousands, seen troubleshooting done. So I already had a great deal of foundation of education before I even officially was, you're now an apprentice. And for many people, before I was even officially an apprentice, 6 months to a year of what their apprenticeship might start out as, I kind of already had from just exposure and being a sponge, soaking it up as we go. So then to really answer your question, I'm sorry, I'm notorious for
No,
getting.
please keep, it's very
Uh,
interesting, so take it where you want to.
You know, like I said, I was approached and it was discussed with a legitimate professional, someone that is already established in the industry, someone that has a portfolio that can speak to their body of work in terms of, okay, does this person actually know what they're doing, or are they just doing? And then there's the one component that a lot of is that any trade, any world, being able to teach it to another person, a completely different set of skills. So I got very, listen, put in the work, right place at the right time, you know, a few doors opened and I chose which ones to walk through. So yeah, so then I was looked at, it's like, you're the perfect candidate to do an apprenticeship. So then I did an apprenticeship, approximately a year and a half of actually being an apprentice. And then you have a mentor, you are tutoring. So just like a lot of times, a plumber or a welder or a construction, you don't know what you're doing when you show up, but after a year working on the job site, you're going to learn a few things. And maybe that guy told you a few little secrets here and there, a couple little tips and tricks, you know? So that's typically in the body art industry, what is looked at as the better way to get into it.
I
you
see.
Know, for tattooing, get into tattooing because you want to get tattoos. You thought it was cool or you had a reason. And then you made friends with people or you hung out in the shop or maybe you got a job and you didn't expect that to happen. And then one thing leads to another. And you're like, God, maybe I could find a place in this world. And like I said, learning it legitimate from people, there's a difference there versus in our body art industry, other industries, paid apprenticeships. They're not all bad, but some of them are a little less than and are a little lacking because it's a different motivation in terms of a money motivation versus a community, a joining in, a passing it on, generational, if you will, type of attitude, kind of, you know, an amalgamation of that thought. So yeah, and then like I said, here I am now, all these years later. I have apprenticed someone myself as a part of my staff that she's piercing, you know, and so there it is. They did the same thing. They were already tattooed and pierced for their own reasons. Our paths crossed. They started working for me. After a few years of doing that, it was, you have the right person. You can handle it. You've seen what it's all about. Now let's start putting it in your hands and really expanding your knowledge about it all. So yeah, full circle all the way around already for me.
Super interesting. I've been curious as to how that learning process goes and also kind of how that all works and certifications and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit more to Sofia and then we'll come back to you. Maybe you can talk more about some of those certifications and more specifically about what the business of piercing is like, because it's not only in art, but it's also the business of all of this. So there's a lot to know here and it's such a cool conversation we're having. I think that so many people are going to be curious about this. So Sofia, tell us a little bit more. So you specialize also in piercing. There is tattooing also at your shop, but tell us, you know, maybe about how your learning process and anything more you want to share about your shop.
Yeah, so my learning process was a bit similar to Josh's. Currently, there are very few systemized ways of learning body art in the world. So there are a few schools here and there, but like Josh said, they're far apart, and some are like in Russia that they have like a university for tattooing and stuff like that, but it's just a very rare thing in this industry. And here in California, the majority of people that learn this type of art is the way that Josh explained. For me, it was beautiful because I was the last apprentice of the founders of the shop. So before they retired, they took me on as that. And like Josh had said, you know, you have to know the industry before you get into an apprenticeship. And as I traveled through the world doing meditation, I also was very much involved in tattoo shops, not necessarily in the US, but just like very close knit to those communities, because art was always just a way of me expressing myself. And a journey of self-care with modifying my own body to be able to feel comfortable in my own skin on my terms. And I think that's the new way of looking at this industry, is that a lot of people go into it because of a self-care aspect. Whereas a few years ago, like decades ago, it wasn't very much like that. It was very much like a society within a society. Now that it's becoming more mainstream, a lot of people are doing it because of artistic way of expressing themselves, and also channeling kind of this this need of feeling good in your own skin, and how to do that without it being a self-harm situation or an addiction, but actually doing that in a constructive, beautiful, artistic way. So now that's one of also the reasons why it's become so mainstream to see people with tattoos and body piercings, whereas before it used to be more frowned upon, or older clients also that are coming into it for the first time say that a lot, that like, oh, I never thought that I would be getting a tattoo in my 50s or a piercing in my 60s. But it's just such a beautiful way that this industry has branched out into the mainstream everyday life. In Mexico, where I'm from, it is still very frowned upon in certain conservative communities, whereas like people that used to have tattoos were mainly cartel related or just criminally related. And to be able to go into that community of Mexican conservative society and be able to say, you know what, this is a way of expressing yourself. This is not necessarily a stereotype of a criminal or somebody that should be frowned upon, but something to be encouraged to have people feel good about themselves and do it in a body positive way instead of a showing off kind of way. That's also a misconception that we get a lot, that like, oh, people get tattoos to be looked at or to show off, which is not necessarily the truth. And growing up in this kind of conservative Mexican society was also hard because as a minority in that society of being tattooed and pierced almost my whole adult life, it was hard to be able to feel like I fit in. And here in California, it's much more celebrated, so also that kind of clash of worlds of, yes, body modification and art is becoming more mainstream, but also there's still a huge part of the society that doesn't see it that way. So that's where we come in, where it's like, okay, we want to give you more of an experience and bring this more into like something similar to like a spa or a massage or something that you do to make yourself feel better, instead of something that's related to criminality or something more sketchy in that sense, because it wasn't like that for a long time in the body industry, especially in the US and Mexico, having a lot of tattoo being related to criminal organizations in Mexico and stuff like that, gangs, and a lot of situations like that, bringing it to the other side of like, okay, how can we make this more acceptable for everybody in their house, and just making the newer generations feel good about not having to hide their tattoos from their parents, which I had to do when I got my first tattoos and piercings, so it's like bringing that safety and kind of like not only safety in a safe space to be able to do that, but also make it more mainstream and acceptable and beautiful, more of like like a nice self-care splurge rather than like something like grungy and scary.
Well, that's really interesting that you point out sort of the origins of that, and also how, you know, these stigmas are changing and how you're trying to change those, and as well as people are getting tattoos for all kinds of different reasons. I'm curious, maybe Josh, if you want to share a little bit, and we'll come back to you, Sophia, about why are people, like, what are the different reasons people are wanting? I know you both specialize more in piercings, but in some cases piercings or tattoos. And then if you can speak a little more about that and kind of dive into some other areas of this.
Yeah. So I mean, reasons. I mean, laundry list. There.
Of course.
I mean, I could even. I mean, I'm heavily tattooed. You know, a lot of us in the industry are heavily tattooed. You know, 80+% of my body's tattooed. And I mean,
what are some of your reasons?
For all different reasons. Some of those reasons are really silly and superficial. Some of them might be a little bit more, it means something to me, but nobody else. Like, broad spectrum. So you know, I mean, you ask, so yeah, literally you put 10 people in a room, they're gonna give you 10 different answers of why they got a tattoo or why they got what they got or whatever. Same with piercings. I actually get that question a lot. You know, like, you put 10 people in a room, you're gonna get 10 different answers of, you know, why they did it, you know, 10 different answers of which one hurt more, you know, like, so it's hard to say. Again, at least me personally, mine was more of an expressive thing, you know, and admittedly maybe even vain of like, I saw tattoos and piercings on musicians and I was like, that was cool.
Yeah, that's a rare one.
Wow, that was cool. I mean, again, and later on, you know, it changes, you know, a little bit here and there, but I mean, like I said, that a little bit for me. So it's kind of really like, I have lots of different tattoos and lots of different piercings for a lot of different reasons. And everybody would say the same thing as well, really, in terms of, you know, what their motivations would be. You know, same kind of, you could probably say the same about, you know, clothing, any fashion choice, hair, style, color, you know what I mean?
What are just a couple of the different things that your clients have shared over the years that you're willing to share?
Well, I definitely have gotten a few folks, you know, that have, you know, stories here or there, you know what I mean, in terms of, you know, some folks where like I have had, okay, here's a good example, a feel good example. I have definitely had a few clients who have gone through breast cancer treatment and have not necessarily had to lose their breasts, who have then later gotten nipple piercings as a reclamation, as like kind of a proclamation, you know what I mean, for example. I have definitely had people just on occasions, like it's a graduation, like I graduated or I finished my master's or I finished my doctorate and I'm just doing something for me. You know, the way some folks might go out on a shopping spree and treat themselves a whole new wardrobe. Somebody's coming in here, you know, getting, you know, with us, and they're buying a nice piece of gold jewelry and putting something in their ear or their face. I've had a wide age range of clients as well. One that sticks out, like I said, in the context of that question, the oldest client that I've ever actually pierced was in her 90s. Yeah, and it kind of a special story there. She, you know, she'd been having some health problems, and had pretty much, she wasn't like terminal, but she absolutely was very aware of her own mortality. It was like, I'm 90 something years old. Like, I got less time and more left. Like, I don't know. Long and short of it, she had her ears pierced many years ago. They weren't there anymore. She had lots of earrings, and she shared with me that one of the things for her as a younger woman that made her always feel very elegant and feel beautiful was being able to wear her earrings. And now later in life hadn't been able to do it. So she's like, nope, I don't have much time I got left. I want to pierce them again because I want to wear all my old earrings and like feel beautiful and pretty. And I was like, oh my God, you're killing me. You know, it was,
I know, that's lovely.
It was like, oh my God, you're killing me, you know? You know, pierced her, got her through it. Later on, once they were healed, she brought in some of her big, you know, ornate dangly type things, helped her change jewelry because, you know, her hands were, you know, had a little bit of trouble with her hands doing tiny little things. So, you know, so there's, you know, an example of different, you know, different experiences. You know, some of them real just simple. Some people just, I'm here for the weekend with some friends. Let's do something together. To an actual occasion a birthday, a separation from a relationship, a child, who knows, a reclamation, or, you know, the full end there, the older lady there, you know, where I was able to do something fun with her. And, you know, of all, you know, we see so many people over all the years, and, you know, there's the few that actually stick with it. And that's one of the ones that'll always stick with me. It's kind of, there's so many things going on where that's an easy one to remember and reminisce about, you know, and talk about. We have a lot of folks, we have a lot of trans clients, you know, that are at one stage of transition or another, or, you know, things like that. So just simply doing something just to kind of mark that benchmark in their life, you know what I mean? Things like that. All kinds of stuff where, like, still it seems simple, but, you know, to one person, it's like, oh, a dozen of those. And then we did it on one person, and we're like, a little different for you, a little something special there, you know? Yeah, so lots of different reasons, and some of them that are a little more story worthy, I guess you'd say.
Okay, well, those are super interesting too. Tell us more about the business of piercing. Since you've been in business now, is it 20-ish years, I think you said?
Well, I've personally been in the industry that long, but our studio, so we have operated as a piercing only, separate from tattoo studio, for a little over 10 years now. We just celebrated 10 years back in February.
Congratulations, that's huge.
Yes, thank you. So being an owner, and I've had various evolutions of ownership. When we first started, it was a general partnership. I had a partner that was with me. Then I transitioned to a sole proprietorship, and now ultimately I've settled as a corporation. And, you know, all the good reasons why they're, you know, and we have a staff now and stuff like that. So, I mean, business wise, I'm just like any other business on the block. I'm sure Sofia can attest to the same thing. Like, we got the rent to pay. We got insurance to worry about, many insurance policies, probably at least 3 or 4. That's what I got. You know what I mean? Stuff like, you know, we have an inventory to maintain. So just like the supermarket's got to keep the food on the shelves, we got to keep jewelry in our cases. Just like how, you know, the janitor at the school's got to make sure they got stuff to sweep them off the floors. We got to make sure we got, so, you know, we have payroll. We have, you know, we are, and it's funny, and I don't want to get long with it, but in that sense, business wise, we're just like any other business. We're uniquely different, as Sofia's talking about, because this is an art form and a trade craft combined already as one element that's unique now with a business, and it's a service-based industry. So the perspective sometimes of us being in the same legitimate business realm isn't always granted. You know, we're always looked at as an exception for some reason. You know, even though it's, as Sophia mentioned, like, we actually remodeled our facility during the COVID shutdown. We did a full remodel, door to the bathroom, ceiling to floor. And part of that was to overhaul and make it much more of a higher end boutique type of feel, with just everything top to bottom in the studio. In terms of like how we conduct, you know, business as well, like much more kind of catered, want it to be kind of a higher end. And
you both have very classy spaces. I mean,
there you go, classy. That's the term we're always looking for, classy. Yeah, we're a business like any other business. We have all the same trials, tribulations, and concerns that any other business has. Sometimes a little bit smaller scale, perhaps. You know, my staff, myself and my staff, there's only 4 of us, compared to, you know, a restaurant or retail or places that they may have a lot more, or you know, offices or other businesses that have a lot more, but it's still the same stuff you have to deal with, just a slightly different scale. I bet, and as Sophia knows this too, I bet you your jewelry inventory, we make up for some shortcomings in other industries with having to deal with the thousands of pieces of little things we have to deal with on stock. I'll tell you what.
I'm sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole thing called a pandemic that occurred that has affected businesses, not only.
Oh, didn't you hear it's already over? I thought.
Yeah, maybe it's working on it, right?
We're not going there.
Well, thank you, Josh, for just sharing a little bit about the business of piercing. Sophia, do you want to share anything to kind of any aspect of what he said? We were talking first about kind of some of the reasons people get piercings or tattoos. Can you speak a little bit to that, and then also to how you operate your business? And
yeah, so we are women owned and mostly women operated. We're currently all people of color at the shop. So we are very much a feminist kind of space where we advocate for people like us. And for me, that's like the main thing, you know, when you come in, we want you to feel at home. We want you to feel like you're coming in for something beautiful, you know, because it is, like Josh said, an art-based business, like any other, but still very unique, because not only do we need to have the same kind of sterilization and protocols as a dental office or a hospital, you know, but we also modify people's bodies permanently. So that in itself is such an honor for everybody to come in and just feel like they're stepping into a new part of their life with a new jewelry piece or a new piece of art that will be on them forever. So we take that very seriously and as an honor, because the fact that they were able to trust us to come in and make them feel safe enough to trust us with something so significant like that is truly the way we work at Energy. Also, lately, with self-harm being such a mainstream thing and addictions being on the high, I do think that a lot of people come in order to channel that kind of energy into something positive that doesn't necessarily harm their bodies. A lot of people that are in recovery, a lot of people that have had not so great experiences in the body industry and want to change that. A lot of people that have trauma, past trauma. So that's where my background as a meditator and a meditative therapist comes in a lot, to be able to ease that trauma and bring it into a new piece of art on their body. That transition is quite tricky sometimes when dealing with such clients, but yet such an honor, because it's a way of transforming that into something beautiful, into a great experience rather than a traumatic one. So that's what we deal with a lot at Energy, and certain clients are just like Josh said, you know, like, oh, a graduation or like a special occasion, or, you know, I just felt like it. But mostly is like such a beautiful happening every time we get a new client. And the clients that return to us and just like have great experiences also are very dear to our hearts, because we get to see their growth process. From the first time they came in, whether it's their 18th birthday or their 50th, or, you know, to grow with them in that story is also such a beautiful thing, to be able to accompany them throughout their journey, whether if it is transitioning or if it is moving to a different state for college, or just arriving in Santa Barbara for UCSB, you know. We get to be there for them in these special occasions and kind of make their day or their week so much better. So for me, that's the greatest thing about this industry, is like, it's really something that is celebrated. You never leave with a frown on your face, you know. It's not like a grocery store where you're like, oh, I have to go do groceries, you know. You come here and you always leave with a smile on your face. And for me, like, it gives me chills. Like, for me, that's like the best part. And what I love about my job is that we get to see that and accompany them in their journey, as well as them in our journey. In my case, like, every piercing I do, I am honoring their body, but then also honoring my ancestors in my lineage to be able to link that gap. Because in Mexico, with our history, we lost a lot of information as to our origin. So to be able to link that gap and kind of walk the ways of my ancestors now with them, with me, is just such a beautiful thing as well on my personal journey. And always just bring the meditation element to it, because it is an industry that deals with pain. We're dealing with pain constantly. So even though if it is just a momentary pain, we deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So guiding someone through that pain and holding their hand and just being there is also such an intimate reality that we deal with, more than just like an aesthetic thing. It is such a close, intimate moment with the client, because not only do we have to be present, the artist has to be present, as well as the person getting modified is also present. So we carry that intimacy with such honor, because you're literally putting your body in another person's hands. So that requires a lot of trust. And yes, we are like on the business aspect, inventory and all that, like any other business, but we transcend pain together with the client. So that itself, that bridge of linking their body, even if it is just for a glow up, or I want my ear to look shiny and blingy and beautiful, you are going through something together, symbolically, energetically, physically, and it is a permanent modification of your body. So that itself is such a big honor, and a big responsibility as well. We can't take that lightly, even though it is sometimes just for an aesthetic purpose. It is way deeper than that in reality.
I see that it's such, you found your calling in this space, and that it is for you such an honor, and it really is this combination of a moment of celebration and a moment of also challenge and pain and a moment of transition. And the way you've described it is really incredible, for one, and also just that you're honoring so many people's moments of their lives. And so really, when you're seeing kind of a piercing studio or a tattoo studio, you're finding a moment of like somebody's highest high in that moment. Potentially it's their birthday, they're recovering from something. You have shared a lot more, I think, about what it means to have a piercing, have a, I know you focus mostly on piercings, but your studio does have also tattooing, and kind of people are coming for different things. But that is really, I think, very special that you've explained kind of the fullness of that, and how that, every business finds, a way to give, something that's really part of them to their community. And you've certainly found that, and that is really, really special. And it seems that that's something that you also have been able to share to Josh, in that it's become not only a passion, but a gift to be able to share this with people and share those moments. What else should we know about piercing, tattooing, that maybe the community doesn't know? And also, I want to kind of take a moment to check in on questions. For whatever reason, my screen is frozen so that I can't get to the questions. So I want maybe Emily, before we get to kind of the next phase of just checking in on some of those questions, can you share with us where we're at with community questions, and we can answer any of those if we haven't already?
We have 2 questions, and I'm sure there are more out there, so feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat right now. And Josh has been responding to them, but I do want to just say them out loud, and I'll just to get Sophia's take, and then Josh, if you can repeat what you said, so people who are watching on Facebook or watching later can also hear the answers. But the first question we got was, what would you tell your curious middle-aged clients who are attracted to tattoos, but are a little scared of pain, what friends would say, and what if they don't like it? And I almost feel like that could apply to any age group, just doubts around getting a tattoo.
Yeah, so well, my response basically was, again, not tattooer, but I came up through the industry. I'm heavily tattooed, so yeah, I've been through the grind. Getting tattooed, it's like it's like cat scratching a sunburn, but like over and over again. Just, it's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but I mean, it's not terrible. You know what I mean? And of course, no matter what, tattooing, piercing, working out, anything, everyone has a different level of pain tolerance. So it's really hard for any one individual to speak on that besides their own experiences. Like, I know what all the tattoos have felt like for me. I know what my piercings have felt like for me. Kind of circling around what I said earlier. You put 10 people in a room, you'd probably get 10 different answers of what was their most painful piercing or what tattoo hurt more, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, if you really want to get one, it ain't that bad and you'll be stoked afterwards. That'd be the best way to summarize it.
Also that it has to have a purpose for you to be able to come into a studio and just talk about it first might kind of ease this uncertainty, but also make sure that it's something that you really enjoy. So because you mentioned also, what if people don't like it? My main question would be, what if you don't like it? Really make sure that you're the one that is happy with the end result, because if not, you're going to be the one that has to live with the tattoo forever, unless you get it removed or covered. There are other options. In another sense, if it's something that you want to experience, you can always, just get a little dot, just experience it and let it be like a little birthmark. I know my mom personally was very anti-tattoo, anti-piercings my whole life. And we got our first matching dots together and we ended up getting like matching hummingbirds, and she is in love with her tattoo. And I ended up blinging her ear, and now she's like fascinated with tattoos. So, you can always start with a dot and see how it feels and kind of ease into this, or get a piercing. If you don't like it, you can always take it out, it'll heal. But it's never as scary when you walk in and actually ask what the process is about. We're always there to be able to talk you through it before getting it, because it can be scary, and it has to be something that you really like if it's going to be on you forever. So yeah, there's always options, and piercings, you can take them out, and tattoos, you can get a dot and it'll look like a colored birthmark, so it's not that serious if you don't want it to be. Yeah.
I'll run with that real quick, because you mentioned like what people should be looking for tattooing, piercing wise, and it kind of we bounced around it. Portfolios, absolutely number one thing. What should people be doing before they get a tattoo or a piercing is research who's doing it. Go into a tattoo shop, take a look at the books. As Sofia said, ask them a couple questions, feel it out if it's going to be the right place or if it's going to be the right person. If you're not jiving on the art, if you're not jiving on the environment, no harm, no foul. Walk on out. Same thing with the piercer. Walk in, ask them some questions, take a look at their body of work. If they can't answer your questions concisely and intelligently, if they don't have portfolios that show like an expansive amount of work, then maybe that's not the place you want to go. So I just wanted to throw that in there super quick, because it's always the thing. What do I always tell the public is check out the portfolios of people before you just say, let's just do it. And so if you said a drawing, like make sure you like the drawing. You can say no at any point before they do it. You can be like, you know what? I don't like that. That's not what I want to do.
Even if the needle's already there, you can walk out.
They'll walk out the door. So just always check your stuff first. Sorry, I didn't want to get you from the question you had there, Emily. That was one that chimed in my head a moment ago. I didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And this is actually a good follow-up to that because it's kind of the flip side. But a question came in about, was there ever a time that you had to reject a request of artwork from a client, or just
Absolutely. So again, my origins being front counter in the tattoo shop. So again, heavily tattooed, but like I was hustling tattoos, like quoting tattoos, doing paperwork, setting up tattoo stuff. Like I know a lot about tattooing as well as I don't tattoo, but the history, the art and the culture, the appreciation of it, got, all that. So like, absolutely. There are many times someone brings a design and it's like, you know what? The translation of whatever medium you're showing me to a tattoo won't work out exact. So you're out and out. We have to we have to totally redo it. Or sometimes somebody brings you something and you're like, hey, you know what? We got to tweak this, change that a little bit, maybe alter this. Then you got it. Sometimes it's, that's all too small. You can't put a lot of detail in a small area in a tattoo. Otherwise it looks like crap. It's like, maybe you can do it as is, but 30% bigger than that for it to work, So just in tattoo side, oh yeah, definitely. You have to either deny or you're right. You don't really want to deny. You want to try to maybe steer them of where their design can actually work and make it work for them, or an alternative idea that could still meet that desire, right? And still get them what they want in the end. But Sophia, I'm sure, how many times a day do you tell people no? I tell people no every day practically for piercings. If you do not have the right anatomy to support a particular piercing, I will tell you no. I will explain, hey, here's this. Let's take a picture. Here, see this. This is why it won't work. Here's what will work. Let's do that instead. Or, hey, that piece of jewelry, too big to fit in this area, or maybe too small to put there right now. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, we do that on an everyday basis. I'm sure, Sophia, y'all do too.
Well, also what we specialize in is pairing you with the right artist. So depending on what you want to get, we have an artist that will specialize in certain types of work. Not everybody can do every type of tattoo. And an ethical person will say, you know what, this is outside my skill set. And that's why we have several artists that specialize in different things that we can pair you with. Of course, if you have a certain artist, then we'll explain, this artist, this is their specialty, but if you would like to get this specific tattoo, we recommend this other person. And yeah, some tattoos you can't specifically get, like we would never do like a racist tattoo, or we would never do like white supremacy tattoo. We reject those off the bat. There's no way of like walking around that. We just don't tolerate that. So in those cases, they're very rare and far between, but in those cases, like gang tattoos, things like that, we don't do. We just simply won't do it. But there are, like Josh said, ways with piercings of doing things that are right for your anatomy. And now that Pinterest is at an all-time high, people think that whatever is on Pinterest is actually a reality, but that's why you come to us, to be able to let you know what is possible for your unique body. And we specialize in custom art, so we like to make something out of what you bring in. We can make something custom for you, because at the end of the day, it's going to be on you forever. You really want to make sure you're happy with it,
Yeah. There's one more question. Someone is interested in white ink tattoos, and they're wondering if they are more difficult to do and more difficult to care for.
Yeah, and I typed a short one in there. More difficult to do, ish. Again, not a tattooer, always have to put disclaimer. Just, this is the part about tattoos, people. The process of doing the tattoo is still the same in terms of the tattooer doing what they're going to do, right? So it's not necessarily any more, I don't have to do an extra step or in a weird way to get this tattoo done. Visually wise, however, obviously if you're tattooing with white ink versus tattooing with black ink or colored ink, it's harder to see what you're doing. Yes, so in that, it's slightly more challenging to just see it. And then care for it. I mean, same thing. There's general tattoo care of what you should do, which is usually less is best for most tattoos, most piercings, less is best. Because what's really healing any tattoo or piercing is your body and time, not any other magical thing or something you're doing, right? But so, I mean, a little more cautionary than you would be. I mean, it's kind of a weird one because it's like, I mean, if you're paying for a good tattoo, you're going to take care of it, I hope. Pay for your piercing, I hope you're going to take care of it. It's what you pay good money for. But the downside, I think, where they're really trying to get to on this one is a lot of tattooers will dissuade clients from getting them due to longevity and the lack thereof. They tend to fade a lot quicker than other colors of ink. And it has to do with how tattoo ink relates with our body over time. And, over time, all of our tattoos are going to fade a little bit. They're all going to be a little less sharp and crisp, only a little bit. And a lot of times the concept of having at least a dark or sometimes the black or darker outlines or having the dark areas of contrast between light and dark is to help maintain that over time because of your body basically slowly absorbing that ink and it's spreading just super, super slow. So with the white ink tattoo, it's already so close to our skin tones, if you have a paler skin, that is, and if you want it to be more of an invisible one, you're going to lose it. Now, as I say that, I'm catching myself at folks that have slightly darker skin and maybe they want that contrast of like the lighter colored ink on darker skin tone. I get what they're looking for, but when you actually do it, it doesn't quite come out right. And again, just because the nature of the ink, it doesn't quite hold up. Now, if you put a little bit of a black outline around it, you will help your cause, but it fades very, very quickly. Just long and short, white ink just fades really, really quickly. It's hard to see. It's really best used as a highlight within darker areas of a larger or more detailed type of tattoo.
Also, there are specialists that do white ink tattoos as an art form. In that case, I would suggest going to a specialist like that. Like I said before, not everybody specializes in everything. There are people that can pull off like a perfectly great white tattoo. It might require a few touch-ups, but at the end of the day, longevity and overall skincare, not everybody's skin is the same. So some people have more plump, moisturized skin where the ink goes in smoother than other people. Apart from skin tone, it really has to do with your type of skin and how your skin takes in the color as well as the skill of the artist. So not every artist can do color. Not every artist can do white ink, but there are few out there that can pull it off and look great healed when taken care of. But like Josh said, you are paying good money for a good piece of art. And once you walk out the door, it's up to you to take good care of it for them to last. So yes, like 30% has to do with the tattoo artist. And the rest is really up to you. Like if you go into the ocean after getting a tattoo or piercing, it is an open wound. So, it's not going to last if you do that. So yeah, it's like 30, 70, percent there of like how well you take care of it. Also the person's type of skin, where it's going has to do with that, because your skin is not the same on all of your body. Some places are more moist, some places are more dry. Some places have thicker skin, more like wear and tear kind of hands, fingers, all that. Elbows, then just like your forearm, or your body is so diverse, and then everybody's body is completely different. So that also has to do with it.
Wow, you are both so knowledgeable about your subject areas, and we are coming to the end of our time, but I want to give you both one more minute or so each to just share anything else you want to share about your business. I want to make sure you are able to share your addresses, of course, and then any online places people can take a look at your work or learn more about your businesses. Josh, do you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, again, Golden Eagle Body Piercing. We're 407 State Street. We're upstairs above the tattoo shop. They said it's been obviously challenging couple of years with COVID shutdown, but they said we remodeled over shutdown. So we're onwards and upwards. We've actually expanded our staff recently and are planning on continuing to expand our staff through the end of the year. And we have some other very exciting things happening in terms of the evolution of our business here and what the future is going to hold for us coming into 2022. And goldeneaglebodypiercing.com is our website. We have social media handles on every platform there is, so you can check us out and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, like I said, there are some very, very cool and big exciting things that are going to be happening here in the next year. So people that are curious about that, follow us on Instagram or otherwise, keep checking in because we're doing some moving and shaking over here for sure.
Wonderful. Well, that was definitely a little carrot out there for everybody to explore.
I'm definitely carroting the donkey right now for sure.
Absolutely. And Sophia, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, so we also remodeled kind of to show people gratitude after being closed for almost a year. We thought we might not make it, and as a kind of rising from the ashes, we were able to remodel the area. We are on 428 State Street. Our Instagram handle is @Energy Tattoo, and our website, energytattoo.com. We have a bunch of different artists that specialize in various things. And right now, with the whole body jewelry industry being on like a crisis because of everybody being shut down, jewelry inventory has been quite difficult, but we are getting new jewelry in all the time, especially gold jewelry and more specialized things like that. Artists, you can check their portfolio out on our website. And overall, right now, the way we're doing appointments is via Instagram mainly. And we do have like really cool guest artists that specialize in different things from like color to fine line and black and gray, realism, and just really cool new types of art, and mostly unique pieces of art. So that's what we specialize in. And if you want to come stop by and talk to them, that's great too. We have our doors open Wednesday through Sunday, usually from 1:30 onwards. And we're always there to make you feel safe and at home. And any questions you have, you can send us through the DMs on Instagram or just stop on by.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a fun, informative conversation. Thank you so much, Sophia and Josh, for joining us and all you contribute to our community. Emily, I'm going to let you wrap it up, share what's happening with Independent or anything else that's coming up next.
Great. So next week, the Independent is launching our Burrito Week. So we've done Burger Week in the past, and it was very popular, so we decided to do another food week, and so we're doing Burrito Week. It launches next Thursday the 23rd, and we have 16 different restaurants participating, and it's 7 days of $7 burritos. So you can go to any of these restaurants and get a burrito for $7, and they look really good. So that will be on next week's cover. If you want to pick up the issue, you'll see all of the different descriptions and the different restaurants participating, and it will also be online. So definitely a fun thing to look forward to next week. And that actually ties into next week's show. So for the spotlight next week, at 3:00 on Thursday, we're going to be talking to Rudy's and Yona Red. So those are going to be the two restaurants on Spotlight, and they're going to be talking about themselves and their businesses, but also Burrito Week in general. So that would be a good one.
Well, awesome. It's so wonderful always to host with you, Emily, and so interesting to learn more about your businesses, both Josh and Sophia. Thank you again for joining us. And we will see everybody next week, and we'll see you on the 400 block.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.